What's going on? It's Matt back with some more interesting news that could possibly be related to the shooting in New Zealand the other day. So, before we get started, I have been noticing there's just still a lot of people really fixated on, I don't know, I guess I just don't understand everyone's obsession with trying to prove things wrong when this happens. And people have presented the information. I mean, anyone with eyeballs can watch it and think that. Notice there's things that are odd about it. Clearly, it looked like people died. I still don't understand what the people were huddled on the corners of the room were all about. But to go on about it for like a week straight almost, just still we got to move on because it just gets distracting. And I'm not telling you not to look into it because obviously there can always be valuable information in any kind of data or evidence that we're given into something like this. But I think we need to look into other things. Now, I did want to look into this Jerusalem Post again, and it was like perfect timing as well because Netanyahu and Mike Pompeo had a conference earlier today. So we're going to get into this a little bit. This could be a little bit of a rabbit hole, so we're not going to go too crazy, but like I said, things are worth looking into. So we'll go a little bit deeper into this and some other reporting that I found in relation to it. But this conference just made this episode I probably wouldn't have done this, gone so deep into this if it wasn't for this conference. So let's start off with listening to this conference real quick. It's 9 minutes. I might skip a little bit through it, but if you haven't seen this already, or if you weren't paying attention to it when you were, let's just listen to what they're saying, and then we'll go into what I'm about to go into, and I don't know. We'll see what we think. I mean, I kind of already know what I think, but well, you can see what you think after this.
Secretary Pompeo, Mike, it's good to see you in Jerusalem, back in Jerusalem. I have to say that we meet on every holiday. We met in Hanukkah, now we meet in
Purim. I'm just going to pause it for a second because I just find it interesting that he's going to mention that they meet on holidays. Because if you were listening on my last video when I was talking about how these people who run the world, let's just say for lack of a better term, they love rituals and they love sacrifices and things like this. These kind of occult, they're very big into the occult. All various types of different branches of the occult. Some are more common than others, but these people are crazy. So he mentions, we meet on all these Jewish holidays. And Judaism, really, and I'm not trying to come down on Jewish people because I believe people that follow religions, they're looking for a true thing, which is the soul and the heart, and the creator, of reality. So I don't try to come down on those people, but Judaism is big in the occult, is all I'm going to say. So I find it interesting that he mentioned how they're meeting on holidays, Jewish holidays, but let's continue.
These are all celebrations of our history, and part of it is the tremendous alliance between Israel and the United States. And I know you've been an extraordinary champion of the U.S.-Israel alliance. And I want to thank you and President Trump for everything that you've been doing to support this partnership, which I think is exceptional. First of all, I think it's supported by the broad swathe of the American people. We appreciate that, the fact that we have a broad base of support in the United States.
So when I listen to this, it just sounds like he's basically saying, good job getting everyone in America to not look at us like war criminals and look at us like we're the good guys. Thanks for that. Thanks for that propaganda. That's what I hear when I hear him saying that. But like I said, you can leave it up to your own opinions, what you make of all this.
But we also know that our alliance in recent years has never been stronger. It's an unbreakable bond that's based on shared values of liberty and democracy and shared interests to fight the enemies of democracy, the enemies of our way of life, the terrorists that plague, that prowl our airspace and prowl our countries.
The terrorists and the enemies of the people. the terrorists that plague the lands of Israel, right? And that's what he's talking about.
And I think that working together, we've been able to achieve an enormous amount. Under President Trump, that alliance has also brought a historic recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital, the moving of the American embassy to Jerusalem.
Like unprecedented stuff that Trump did for Israel. If you don't remember, a pretty big news. He declared Israel, it belongs to the Jews, basically. He said that's the capital of Israel, is Jerusalem. And, you know, Palestine has no right to it, according to this, you know, deal that they made.
David doesn't have to travel up the traffic jams from Tel Aviv, which we're trying to loosen up anyway. But I think also the unequivocal commitment to Israel's security, the support that you give us in international forums, all of that is deeply appreciated. I think that no less historic is the President's decision to walk away from the disastrous nuclear deal with Iran. He said he would do it. He did. And he said that he would reimpose tough sanctions on Iran, and he did. And what we see is that this pressure is working. We need to increase it. We need to expand it. And together, the United States and Israel are working in close coordination to roll back Iranian aggression in the region and around the world. Secretary and I just spent the first part of our meetings discussing exactly how to do that. And I think there are ways that will intensify the pressure even more. Rolling back Iran.
Okay, well, basically they just go on to like jack each other's dicks off about how great America and Israel are getting along and how they help, you know, how, like he said, America's helped them defend their borders, and it's been so, you know, it's been so great, the relationship, to help just Israel defend themselves from these terrorists. So let's look at an incident of some terrorist attacks that he might be referring to. This is a year old. This is Al Jazeera, so keep in mind, this is propaganda, but it is a narrative, and there is truth in it, obviously. But, you know, their agenda we might not quite agree with.
It was supposed to be a peaceful day, but as unarmed protesters marched towards the border fence, Israeli soldiers opened fire.
Ooh.
Sharpshooters were deployed, but Palestinians, frustrated by the endless siege they live under, were undeterred. Israeli commanders say they issued warnings against approaching the border fence.
We will never shoot one bullet against anyone who stays away from the security wall. We have warned during the last few days that everyone who tries to violate the Israeli sovereignty or to infiltrate the Israeli territories will put himself and his life in danger.
But for besieged Palestinians,
I mean, that's fair enough, right? I mean, he said, don't come here or we'll kill you. So, I mean, if you come there, then you get shot trying to cross the border unarmed. I mean, this has striking resemblances to a little border dispute that recently happened in America, where I think they came out and gassed the unarmed migrants who were at the border of America, and the news media went particularly crazy about that. But I don't remember hearing very much about this particular event. Unarmed citizens getting fired at and 17 people dying. They killed 17 people just for trying to cross the border of Israel. But yet, the news media, who, if you don't already know, or we could go in another episode if we really wanted to, but I don't know about that, but the news media is majority people who are pro-Israel and Jewish by descent, who say America can't have borders and it was so wrong to keep these people from trying to cross the borders. Yet Israel is killing 17 Palestinians trying to cross.
Demonstrating next to the border is about the only visible means available for the world not to forget their plight.
We live under immense pressure. That is why the people explode. The blockade and the siege led to the explosion. We either choose to live properly or to die. We have no space. We have no alternatives but to explode. We have nothing except the oxygen in the air.
Land Day is considered the first Palestinian popular uprising. For the past 42 years, Palestinians have been commemorating this day, but this year, after Trump's declaration over Jerusalem, it has taken greater significance. It all started here in northern Israel, after thousands of hectares of land were confiscated from Palestinians back in 1976. 6 Palestinians were killed then. Yara Mohammed says nothing has changed since.
So they also brought up the deal between Trump and Israel to make Jerusalem the capital of Israel. So let's listen to that part one more time.
For the past 42 years, Palestinians have been commemorating this day, but this year, after Trump's declaration over Jerusalem, it has taken greater significance. It all started
here. This did
take
greater significance. So I don't know if they're necessarily blaming it on Trump. But if we go back to that article that I was looking into the other day, I know they do mention it here. They say, Hamas also took to social media to portray the protests as part of a conspiracy by Fatah and Israel to end the rule of Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Hamas-affiliated social media accounts drew the Palestinians' attention to statements made by Fatah and Israel officials with regard to the protests. The statement, according to Hamas, proved that Israel and Fatah are in collusion to destroy the Palestinian resistance in the Gaza Strip and force the Palestinians to accept U.S. President Trump's unpublished plan for peace in the Middle East, known as the Deal of the Century. So again, they're blaming Trump here. And of course, I'm not saying anything that we're reading here is true or they're telling us the whole truth. All of this is propaganda. But we're taking all these bunch of different sources here. So these people are blaming Trump, saying that's why they're having these protests in Gaza right now. Basically, the protests in Gaza, we'll move on to this next article here too as well, that CNN posted. The protests here, or the protests here they mentioned are about unemployment rates, about 70%. But in here, you won't find a single mention. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I did read the whole thing, but I'm not going to read the whole thing here. But you won't find a single mention of Trump's deal with Israel or anything that you could call or blame on Trump for, say, giving Israel the capital of Jerusalem, basically, as what you're seeing. You know, they mentioned here. They mentioned it. She didn't necessarily blame it on that, but they are kind of blaming this whole thing here. They're blaming it on Trump. You would wonder, why wouldn't CNN take this opportunity to blame Trump? It would, but obviously CNN's very pro-Israel, so you don't want to take that stance. But basically in this article they're talking about how Hamas has cracked down on popular protest in Gaza. They're carrying out beatings, arbitrary arrests, torture against protesters. And we can see that here in this video. Another Al Jazeera video, so keep in mind, these are all narratives. It's not all truth, but there's information to be gained from it.
Osama Khalud can barely sit because he's in so much pain. A young journalist who went to cover the protests happening outside of his house. The hunger protests, as they have been dubbed, have been held all over the Gaza Strip. Osama documented the ones in his neighborhood on his social media accounts and with his camera. Soon after, he says members of Hamas broke into his house, beat him up and destroyed his equipment. He then says he was taken away and tortured for 3 days.
I knew the sensitivity of covering such an event, and so I didn't want to cover it. I was criticized for that by my neighbors because I'm the only journalist here. So then I went to cover the event, and suddenly Hamas police stormed my house, beating me up, destroyed my kit, and took me away.
Hamas says it's cracked down on the protests because certain groups want to bring disorder to the streets of Gaza.
I don't deny that there are some mistakes, and these mistakes will be investigated by the police, and we are against any violation of the law. We are against using of power against or violence against people. But some people try to spread kind of chaos here or there.
Human rights groups say it's because Hamas fears the protests could...
I don't know exactly everything he was saying there, but he basically sounded like, it sounds like some people were being corrupt, but we, as the government, don't condone that. So, I mean, obviously, that's what you're going to say no matter what the case is. If you're a totalitarian government, authoritarian government, or if it's the truth. But anyway, let's see.
Get larger and pose a threat.
See what else they have to say.
Well, even prior to the day announced for the protest, Hamas authorities or the police force in Gaza cracked down on those even who initiated the call on social media. So this means that from day one they have no tolerance for any kind of peaceful protest, regardless of the subject. It's not the issue of economic or any other issue, but they have a position not to allow these demonstrations to take place anyway.
According to the World Bank, Gaza has 70%.
Okay, so it sounds like he's saying they're not letting you protest at all, regardless. It's not because they're saying anti-Hamas things or because it's anti-government. It's just they don't want people protesting whatsoever, apparently.
Unemployment among young people, and it is young people who've been protesting.
Okay, I was talking
who've been protesting
in the middle, so let's listen what they just said
there. 70% unemployed. According to the World Bank, Gaza has 70% unemployment among young people, and it is young people who've been protesting.
Although Hamas may have quelled the hunger demonstrations, for now the root causes still exist. The Israeli-Egyptian-led siege has been going on for more than a decade now. Regular Israeli bombardment and a myriad of other issues means that Gaza's economic situation is rapidly deteriorating.
Okay. So we could even look down at the comments here because it is Al Jazeera, and you get some pretty radical comments down here sometimes. Oh, right off the bat, death to America, death to Israel, Hamasad, very common. Hamas elected by Arabs report to Mossad now, LOL. This is a very common thing that you see, though. Oh, Hamas is a proxy state for Mossad. I honestly haven't done all my research in that, so I can't speak on whether or not that's true. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you have any. But like I said, don't take anything, controlled opposition or not. Yeah, don't take anything I'm saying here as truth. But controlled opposition or not, they need to be taken to task to destroy Hamas. Okay, death to Israel, death to America. Free Palestine. So, we saw the CNN article. Now, here we have a completely different article, and there's a video also that RT was posting this same footage. I don't know if it's the same footage, but it was the same event. But at least 16 injured in Gaza clashes with Israeli military. So we have simultaneously a Hamas crackdown in the cities of Gaza, which Gaza is not a very big place. Like, it's very small, mostly residential. And they're having these protests here, and Hamas is cracking down. And then you have people up here on the border of Israel, who I imagine probably are fleeing. Also, if we remember, earlier in the week, Israel launched a bunch of missiles or rockets or whatever, into Gaza, into Palestine. I don't know if it was Gaza or not, but I think it was in Gaza. So all this stuff is happening in Gaza right now. And I'm not going to go into, the kind of Luciferian and occult mindsets and theories that these psychopaths have, but there's, the whole order out of chaos, dualism, belief system that these type of people have, and he's talking about holidays. I mean, once again, this is just where my mind goes. These are just my opinions, and I'm not even that sure on this stuff. I find it interesting, and it's stuff that I don't see people talking about right now. I see people talking about stuff that, in my opinion, and I feel like a lot of people in the community, it's like it's becoming into entertainment. And I don't like when it becomes like that. And I'm not pointing any fingers at anyone. I'm not trying to accuse anyone, because I know this stuff is interesting, and the people that watch this and make these videos enjoy this type of stuff. So you're going to get caught up in the rabbit holes. But there are definitely people, and I don't know who, but there are definitely people, because there always are, that want you. They're trying to sell that, and they're trying to get you down these rabbit holes and distract you. So I'm trying to go think outside the box a little bit. Go with my gut here. That just struck me. This conference earlier just really struck me as like odd when you have this not odd but just blatant, like they're trying to, oh, look how great Israel is while all this crap is going on. It's just what it seems like to me. So we have here people being basically shot at. They say they were fired at, open fired. According to the reporter, Israeli soldiers opened fire. But apparently they were attacked with gas. We can get to, and like they said, 16 injured. We can actually see some footage here of someone injured. Doesn't look like actors. It doesn't look like white hat stuff or anything like that. And you know it wouldn't be white hat stuff because you would see it on the news. You'd see it on CNN if it was something like that. This is just, no one's on the TV talking about this. You have to go. I literally have to go and search what I'm talking about, and they'll bring me up. I'll search Gaza protests, and they'll bring me up news from a year ago. I'll have to actually go and put, no, from 24 hours ago, from this week. Then I'll be able to find this stuff, and it's always on, you know, one thing that CNN's talking about the Gaza stuff in their article. I'm sure they're not really, I mean, I don't know, I don't watch CNN, but I couldn't imagine they're spending very much time talking about this. But yeah, to find this information, the Gaza clashes in Israel, I'm having to go a little bit out of my way here. And then this last bit of information that I really found interesting here, that I stumbled upon almost by accident, was it again from the Jerusalem Post. So keep in mind, this is Palestinian news. And protesters with Palestinian flags turned backs on rabbis. N North? I don't know what the N means. Turn back on rabbis, whatever. Zealand eulogy. Some protesters had posters calling for a boycott of Israel. So I think even again here they mention Trump in some way. They might not. But I just find it odd that, I mean, obviously people in Palestine and in the Gaza, and, you know, they're not gonna like Israel, and they're gonna blame Israel for everything. I wouldn't doubt it, because Israel truly is a very big threat to them down there, or over there, I guess I should say. But it's also interesting that, you know, there are a lot of things that kind of suggest that Mossad could have had something to do with the shooting, and they don't live in a world of CNN and Fox News and, you know, all the media that we're fed. They have their completely own media that's completely untouched by our brand of media manipulation. So they might know something we don't. They might be more familiar with what's going on over there. It's a stretch, I admit. It is a stretch, but I found it interesting, so I thought I'd bring it up. But yeah, I'm going to do some more, because I'm going to do some more videos relating to this, just topics that I think might be related to the shooting incident that aren't directly related. We're not going to go and deep dive into videos and talk about how, oh, the police, it was they had a test they were doing there, a drill was happening that same day. Well, yeah, no shit, a drill was happening the same day. It's a, you know what? It's a fishy thing, we'll say. And fishy things always have drills happening the day of. That's what happened on 9/11. That's what happened. I know there was another one. I mean, there's a few. I can't think of them offhand, but I'm sure Sandy Hook there was some sort of drill going on. That's always the case, because then it makes it really easy to dispatch this kind of, you know, this guy with an assault weapon, body armor. I mean, you already got people out running a drill. But, I mean, I'm not going to dwell on that, because if you're here watching this video, I assume you already know that something's fishy going on here. So we're trying to figure out what it is. You know, like I say, I haven't, well, like I say in my own personal time, I guess, I don't know if I ever said this on this channel, but my goal here, and my goal when I'm looking into this stuff, is not to go down the rabbit holes. We need to look at solutions. We can talk about the problem all day long, and I feel like that's what the media wants, and that's what everyone's doing right now. They're talking about the wrong problems, and they're dwelling on the right problems, but they're not doing anything about it. And a lot of it is just coming together, realizing that this is a great nation of people and a great world. If you don't live in America, I live in America, so I come from an American perspective. If you don't live in America, a free country or is what you want, and a lot of places are very free that we live in, and we need to come together and realize that our communities are what is important, our family is what is important, our friends. We need to trust each other. We need to bring these communities back to high trust societies, high trust communities. We live in a very low trust community. We don't know what our neighbor thinks of us. We don't know what our neighbor's doing, and we don't want to know, and we're scared to know because the media gets us scared all day long trying to divide us. So, I know I get preachy towards the end of these videos a lot, but I guess that's kind of my way of wrapping them up. But yeah, I'm going to be back probably later tonight or tomorrow with another video going into some other information. There's stuff going on with Facebook. Disney actually did finally buy Fox, or acquire Fox. Not Fox News quite yet, but that's basically going to happen. So we got to keep in mind we're going to be getting pushed a narrative hard this summer. I think a lot of stuff is going to happen this summer. So we need to keep our ears perked, our eyes perked, whatever the terminology you want to use for what I'm talking about. Stay alert and don't fall down those rabbit holes. Just keep in mind, don't be afraid, and united we stand, divided we fall. It's basically as simple as that. So stay tuned for more videos. Subscribe if you want more. And until next time, I'll see you.